You know, when you finally get that #1 spot next to your name, everything changes. Every single game suddenly becomes a championship fight. You're not the hunter anymore. Nope, you are the hunted. And for the Michigan Wolverines, their first week at the top was shaping up to be an absolute gauntlet.
So, let's just dive right in. The question on everyone's mind was pretty simple, right? Was this new #1 ranking a fluke, or were these guys the real deal? And their first test? Woof. It couldn't have been tougher. A road trip to West Lafayette to face a top 10 Purdue team. So how'd they handle the pressure?
The context here is just huge. It had been over a decade since Michigan held that top spot. But there was no time to celebrate. With a powerhouse Duke team also on the schedule just days away, this game against Purdue wasn't just a test. It was basically the first round of a heavyweight title defense. And the environment? Oh, it was absolutely electric. Mackey Arena is one of the toughest places to play in the entire country, and you can bet that Purdue crowd was ready to be loud. They wanted to see the newly crowned Kings stumble right out of the gate. And you know what? For a minute there, it looked like the crowd might just get its wish. Purdue came out firing, they landed the first couple of punches and took an early lead. The pressure was on, and Michigan needed an answer, and they needed it fast. And boy, did they have an answer. This right here is where the game completely flipped on its head. In the face of that hostile crowd and an early deficit, Michigan didn't just respond. They delivered a knockout blow that echoed for the rest of the night. 16-2. Nothing. Just let that sink in for a second. A 16-0 run on the road against the #7 team in the country. I mean, this wasn't just some scoring streak, it was a full-blown statement. It totally silenced that wild crowd and put Michigan firmly in control, a lead they would not give back. It wasn't just the fans who noticed either. The opposing coach, Matt Painter, he said it himself. That run was the game. When your rival's coach flat out admits that you set the tone and basically won the game in the first half, you know you've done something really special. So how did they pull it off? Well, it wasn't one single player taking over. This victory was a masterclass in team basketball, and it showed off a level of depth and versatility that proved exactly why they're #1. It all started in the middle with their absolute game changer, Aday Mara. Look, at 7'3", his size is a problem for any team. And in that first half, he was the axis on which the entire game turned. Purdue just had no answer for him. I mean, this one sequence here perfectly captures his impact. On defense, he forces a miss. Then he immediately gets down court and assists on a score. Then it's back on defense, he alters another shot. And to cap it all off, he creates a second chance opportunity that leads to a 3. That's just pure dominance. And the crazy part? He did all of that in just 13 minutes of first half action before he got into a little bit of foul trouble. A nearly double-double with assists and blocks sprinkled in. He completely owned the paint whenever he was on the floor. But it wasn't just about the bigs. In a game that featured an All-American guard in Braden Smith, it was Michigan's Elliot Cadeau who totally stole the show. He completely outplayed his counterpart, holding Smith scoreless in the first half while dropping 17 points and 7 assists himself. He was the best guard on the floor, period. And this shows you how they balanced their attack so well. To go along with that dominance inside, Michigan was just on fire from beyond the arc. They hit 13 threes, their second best performance of the season. When you combine that kind of inside-out threat, you become nearly impossible to guard. So they had the size, they had the guard play, they had the shooting. But the real dagger, the thing that truly separated them from a very, very good Purdue team, it was their depth. The numbers here, they tell the whole story. 34-15. I mean, that is a massive difference. Michigan's bench didn't just outscore Purdue's, they more than doubled their production. We're not talking about a slight edge here, folks. This was a canyon. You know, as Coach Painter pointed out, most teams have a dip when they go to their bench. Michigan? They don't. Guys like LJ Kaysen and Trey McKinney came in and provided instant, efficient offense. They hit big shots, they protected the ball, and they made sure the pressure never let up for a single second. So after 40 minutes of some pretty dominant basketball, the story of the game was best told not by the stats, but by the men who coached it. Their words just confirmed everything we saw on the court. Michigan's coach, Dusty May, he talked all about resilience. He knew Purdue would fight back, but he was so proud of how his team answered every single time with smart, disciplined basketball.
He said they answered those runs with really sound play. They just never panicked. And all that composure led to this, 91-80, a decisive double-digit win on the road against a top 10 opponent, a clear and undeniable statement that Michigan had earned every bit of their #1 ranking. But for a team like this, a big win in February, no matter how impressive, is just a single step. This performance wasn't a celebration of what they've already achieved, it was a declaration of what they still intend to do. They passed the first test against Purdue, check. Next up is another monster matchup against #3 Duke, but both of those dates, they pale in comparison to the ones circled on their calendar, April 7th, the national championship game.
And really, Coach May's final thought says it all. The weekly rankings are nice, sure, but they are not the goal. This team isn't playing to be the best team in February. They are playing to be the very last team standing on April 7th. And honestly, after a performance like that, who would even dare to bet against them?